Good morning, Pastor Brian here. Thank you for joining me today as we read a psalm a day. Today we're reading Psalm 18. I'll be reading from the Common English Bible. And as we work through the psalm together, whether by listening or reading through it with me, think about what kind of psalm this particular psalm might fall in a category or just a general theme that you think it might go with. And just wanted to say two more quick notes about this particular psalm. One, it is much longer than any of the other ones that we have, and that happens with the psalms. It's just this one is the first one that we hit that is a long psalm. Two, I don't know if the Bible, if you're using a Bible to follow along with me, if yours has subtitles, but this one I think is really important. It says, for the music leader of David the Lord's servant, who spoke the words of the song to the Lord, after the Lord delivered him from the power of all his enemies and from Saul. So this is a psalm after a victory over Saul. So it kind of helps us with a time frame and where David is in his life specifically. And then also, if you do have a Bible in front of you, and if not, then I encourage you to open one up after this and take a look. But there's also a note that this psalm, this poem, also occurs in 2 Samuel chapter 22. And then I've also got a note under that said with some variation. So it's not word for word exactly the same, but they're very similar. So after we read this, I encourage you to take a look at 2 Samuel 22 and see what kind of similarities and differences, and maybe that'll be more helpful for you to kind of dig further in and see how there's connections all over the place in the Bible, and this is just one of them. So without further ado, a rather long intro today, let us read a long Psalm 18. He said, I love you, Lord, my strength. The Lord is my solid rock, my fortress, my rescuer. My God is my rock, I take refuge in him. He's my shield, my salvation strength, my place of safety. Because he is praiseworthy, I cried out to the Lord, and I was saved from my enemies. Death's cords were wrapped around me. Rivers of wickedness terrified me. The cords of the grave surrounded me. Death's traps held me tight. In my distress I cried out to the Lord. I called to my God for help. God heard my voice from his temple. I called to him for help, and my call reached his ears. The earth rocked and shook. The bases of the mountains trembled and reeled because of God's anger. Smoke went up from God's nostrils, and of his mouth came a devouring fire. Flaming coals blazed out in front of him. God parted the skies and came down. Thick darkness was beneath his feet. God mounted the heavenly creatures and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. God made darkness cloak him. His covering was dark water and dense cloud. God's clouds went ahead of the brightness before him. Hail and coals of fire went too. The Lord thundered in heaven. The Most High made his voice heard with hail and coals of fire. God shot his arrows, scattering the enemy. He sent the lightning and threw them into confusion. The seabeds were exposed. The earth's foundations were laid bare at your rebuke, Lord, at the angry blast of air coming from your nostrils. From on high, God reached down and grabbed me. He took me out of all that water. God saved me from my powerful enemy, saved me from my foes, who were too much for me. They came at me on the very day of my distress, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out to wide open spaces. He pulled me out safe because he is pleased with me. The Lord rewarded me for my righteousness. He restored me because my hands are clean, because I have kept the Lord's ways. I haven't acted wickedly against my God. All his rules are right in front of me. I haven't turned away from any of his laws. I have lived with integrity before him. I've kept myself from wrongdoing. And so the Lord restored me for my righteousness. because my hands are clean in his eyes. You deal faithfully with the faithful. You show integrity toward the one who has integrity. You are pure towards the pure, but toward the crooked you are tricky. You are the one who saves people who suffer and brings down those with proud eyes. You are the one who lights my lamp. The Lord my God illumines my darkness. With you I can charge into battle. With my God I can leap over a wall. God, his way is perfect. The Lord's word is tried and true. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him. Now, really, who is divine except the Lord? And who is a rock but our God? Only God, the God who equips me with strength and makes my way perfect, who makes my step as sure as the deer's, who lets me stand securely on the heights, who trains my hands for war so my arms can bend a bronze bow. You've given me the shield of your salvation. Your strong hand has supported me. Your help has made me great. You've let me walk fast and safe without even twisting an ankle. I chased my enemies and caught them. I didn't come home until I finished them off. I struck them down. They couldn't get up again. They fell down under my feet. You equipped me with strength for war. You brought my adversaries down underneath me. You made my enemies turn tail from me. I destroyed my foes. They cried for help, but there was no one to save them. They cried for help to the Lord, but he wouldn't answer them. I crushed them like dust blown away by the wind. I threw them out like mud dumped in the streets. You delivered me from my struggles with many people. You appointed me the leader of many nations. Strangers come to serve me. After hearing about me, they obey me. Foreigners grovel before me. Foreigners lose their nerve. They come trembling out of their fortresses. The Lord lives. Bless God, my rock. Let the God of my salvation be lifted high. This is the God who avenges on my behalf, who subdues people before me, who delivers me from my enemies. Yes, you lifted me high above my adversaries. You delivered me from violent people. That's why I thank you, Lord, in the presence of the nations. That's why I sing praises to your name. You are the one who gives great victories to your king, who shows faithful love to your anointed one, to David and to his descendants forever. That's the end of Psalm 18. Again, a psalm that was sung, written, rejoiced after having victory over Saul in one of the many battles that David was in. And so as I just kind of wrap my head around all of this, for me, and maybe it is for you as well, it's kind of hard hearing all of this war language, but, one of the things that I think is really important to note and hopefully helps you out if you're struggling with this is that David was a warrior. I mean, for most of his life, most of his career, his kingship, he was a warrior. He was the one who united the kingdom, and it took that kind of military mind and might to be able to do that. And so that is what David knows, and that is the way in which David speaks about how God is on David's side. And so it is military language. There's bows and there's swords and there's shields and there's conquering and all of that. And one of the things I like to do is I like to kind of understand that that's David's mindset. And that basically what David is saying is that God is on his side. And that when people don't have God on their side, they struggle. And so that's kind of where I take these kinds of psalms and this kind of language or just verses in the Bible to realize that that there's ways in which we see God helping us through our struggles and to thanking God for our victories, though not necessarily in a military way. So what did you hear? What did you like? Write it down, share it with a friend, share it with us. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, and God bless.